Hi there, I'm Oliver. I'm not an expert in field recording, but I've been using it in my professional and artistic practice for about 15 years. I use field recording for composition and sound design using extended and lesser known techniques, as well as trying to capture new and surprising sounds for my own archive and for other organisations that I work with. I'm on the board of a charity which uses environmental listening as a tool for education and well-being, and I'm director of the Great Yarmouth Festival of Sonic Art and New Music called Yarmonics, which is all about celebrating and making sound from specific sites and spaces. We also created an open source sound archive, much like the one we're going to be creating together for this Greensand Country Landscape Partnership project. This short series of videos is intended to be an introduction to field recording, about how and why we listen, why you might want to make field recordings, and how you might want to go about doing it. As an artist, more than an audiophile, I believe that field recording can be enjoyed by anyone, and that great recordings can be made without spending huge amounts of cash. For me, field recording exists in 3 clear areas and many more less clear areas. These are for its scientific and research purposes as a form of data, its use in composition and sound design, which we'll talk about briefly towards the end of the course, and its use as a way to foster greater engagement with nature and the world around us, and beyond that, for the potential for it to contribute to improved well-being. This project has arrived at a very relevant point in our history, with the pandemic having anchored us inside our homes and restricting our access to some of the places we love. As a result, there seems to have been a greater interest in schemes and projects which focus on listening, typically in relation to a specific place or site. The Greensand Landscape Partnership project aims to promote a greater appreciation for this wonderful and unique landscape, so its people living here and visitors alike take greater interest in it and become more engaged with it, through simply spending more time enjoying it or participating in one of the many projects based here, in heritage, environment or wildlife, for example. Before we talk about how we go about making field recordings in a little while, I wanted to talk to you a bit about why and how we listen. Fellow field recordist and founder of the Home Sounds project, Martin Scaife, sums it up beautifully by writing, "The sounds of our environment are a profound, subtle and deeply influential context in our lives. Some of the areas of this influence include our sense of time and place, our memories, emotions and physical bodies, the physical world, our personal, social and spiritual relationships, and our relationship with nature. Through active environmental listening, we can deepen our understanding of the extent to which the acoustic habitat shapes our lives. We can learn to respect all sound, no matter where it comes from, and to become more aware, in the deepest possible sense, of ourselves, our communities, and our world. An understanding of how pivotal sound is to our relationship with the natural world has become increasingly important as our environment changes, and the effects of the climate crisis are experienced. Developing experience and skill in active environmental listening can help foster a positive, respectful and mature relationship with our planet." In the late 1960s, a research project led by composer Murray Schafer was established, called the World Soundscape Project. Its purpose was to find solutions for an ecologically balanced soundscape where the relationship between human community and its sonic environment is in harmony. Alongside Schafer, a key member of the project was composer and teacher Hildegard Westerkamp, who is widely credited with defining the term soundwalk. A soundwalk, in Westerkamp's words, is any excursion whose main purpose is listening to the environment. It is exposing our ears to every sound around us, no matter where we are. Soundwalks can be practiced by anyone in any sort of environment. They can be recorded and played back or experienced in real time. Sometimes soundwalks are accompanied by some form of narration or sound-based accompaniment designed to enhance the experience or to give a more detailed context for the walk. Another term I'd like to briefly mention is deep listening. Coined by the late artist and composer Pauline Oliveros in the late 1980s, Deep listening is the term used to describe the practice of radical attentiveness. At that time, deep listening was used more in the context of music making and free improvisation, but has since been adopted to apply to any sort of listening activity. There have been numerous studies in recent years by psychologists and sociologists to evidence that practicing deep listening can help us build better relationships with each other and our environment, can improve our concentration and memory, and can improve our well-being. It's simply about slowing down and paying attention. You can think that a lot of what we've spoken about relates to natural environments, and one tends to think about rural settings when talking about field recording. But this sort of listening practice can be applied to any environment, in urban environments, in rooms, or at work, for example. Our brains are very efficient in running tasks for us, such as the filtering out of unwanted audio information. As we live busier lives with high levels of sensory information thrown at us all day long, our brains tend to stop concentrating on sounds that aren't deemed important to our function at that given time and place. Which means if you go and sit on a bench in a marketplace, or take a walk through the park, or even sit in your office and focus on the sounds around you, you will no doubt hear a rich landscape of sounds and be surprised that you hadn't heard them before. So, try and think of this sort of practice when making field recordings. Rely on your ears and avoid getting too distracted by equipment. For me, listening to recordings is a very different thing to listening to live environments, but by approaching sound recording in this way will hopefully mean the sounds you collect will mean something to you when you listen back, and will be an accurate representation of that experience, as well as a useful document of a specific time and place.